right in my face.
I don't think I'm going to qualify as Goliath here, Emma.
Welcome, welcome, everyone. Is that better if I'm back here? I'm a mom, so I'm not really used to being behind a mic. I want to thank everyone for coming to meet the candidates who are running for the Peoria Unified School Board. My name is Annette McCarty-Abraham. I have 2 kids up at Liberty High School, and I'm the new president of the Peoria United Parent Council as of May. So it's a new role, and I'm used to being the Park Ridge PTSO mom, where you're doing the fundraisers and you're involved with the teachers and the kids. And so what this group is about, what the Peoria United Parent Council is about, is bringing all of us together where it affects the whole district. So the PTSO groups send representatives, our parents, our community members, so that we can have a good dialogue with our district officials and be involved, have our voices involved in those discussions that affect the kids. Our governing board consists of, I'm going to go through a little format. So our governing board consists of 5 members, each of whom reside within the school district and are elected to a 4-year term, and they serve voluntarily. There's rumors out there they get paid, they don't. School board elections are held in conjunction with state and federal elections every 2 years, and by law, the governing board sets our district policies and has final authority over our school district business. The format tonight will be all the candidates will be given 2 minutes to introduce themselves, and then the moderator will ask a series of questions. They'll have 2 minutes to answer them. You'll notice myself and Sherry, who's on the PUPC board with me, we're going to be kind of like holding up signs saying 30 seconds, 10 seconds, okay. So to try to keep mindful of our time so we can all get out of here by 8 o'clock. And otherwise we're all going to be in a sweat chamber. What I heard, by the way, on the AC situation, district got involved and they are pushing buttons somewhere off-site to cool the room back down. Okay. If we have the moderator, and I'll get to introductions there in a second, if there are additional questions that you had, we put 3x5 index cards over by the doorway there. If questions that you had weren't answered during the evening, we will give those to the candidates and then have them, if they respond to us, we'll post them to our PUPC site and publish that so everyone can get their answers or questions answered. The event is being recorded and will be available on the district YouTube channel as of Monday, and then we'll be able to link it from our website and push it out onto all those social media, I don't know what they're called, social media sites. Now I'd like to introduce our candidates and our moderator. We have Jesse Karen, I'll start at the far end, and then they can go into introductions. Monica Sayas Martinez, David Jonigan, Dr. McConnell, and Mr. David Sandoval, and I'll let them do a better job of introducing themselves. And our moderator this evening is Philip Haldeman. He's the news editor from independent newspapers in the West Valley. And again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Hi, good evening, candidates. Good evening to the voters who came out. Like Annette said, my name is Phil Haldeman. I'll be moderating for the forum. And as you know, the PUSD board could look really different next year. It's because 3 out of the 5 seats are open, and there are 6 people running. So let me tell you real quick about the format. Format is each candidate, we're going to do a quick introduction, 2-minute introduction, and then I'll begin asking questions, and each candidate will get 2 minutes. And then there won't be a closing argument after that. I'm not sure how many questions we'll get through, Probably around only 10 to 15. So if you have questions, we can refer those to the, put them on the website later so the candidates can ask them later. So without further ado, let's introduce the candidates. We're going to first start with Jesse, right?
Yes.
Jesse, why don't you introduce yourself, please?
Okay, thank you very much. First off, I want to go ahead and thank PUPC this evening for hosting this event, allowing all of the candidates to get together and discuss some of the issues and allow the voters of Peoria to become more educated on their candidates. As stated, my name is Jesse Karen, and I am a Peoria Unified School District graduate. I graduated in 2011. I am currently 23 years old. I've been with the United States Army National Guard for 5 years now, where I've been able to work on and develop my leadership skills and creative problem solving. And right now, my full-time job, I work for the Arizona Department of Juvenile Corrections, where I work in direct contact with youth that suffer from substance abuse and assist in their programming, allowing them to get back out into the community and function effectively. As well, I'm a field training officer there, so I also train new officers coming into the department and teaching them how to operate safely. My primary objective at the facility is to maintain safety and security of the buildings, as well as the youth themselves. As a candidate for this position and a board member, I plan on being the voice of the teacher, the hardworking teacher, the concerned parent, as well as the students. Whatever issue they may have, we are going to be able to sit down and come up with proactive solutions to whatever their issue may be. And that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Karen. Ms. Monica Cejas Martinez.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. My name is Monica Ceja Martinez. I am a proud product of this district. I graduated K-12, Oakwood Elementary School, Centennial High School, and if it wasn't for my parents who selected Peoria, I wouldn't have been privileged to meet my neighbors, my classmates, my teachers, and now my colleagues on what a wonderful district this was, is, and will be with the right leadership. I have two wonderful little boys, a 6th grader at Oakwood Elementary School and a 2nd grader. And on the second day of school, through this process, he asked me, "Mom, do you want me to ask my teacher? She's a registered voter." And I said, "No, mijo, thank you, but I want you to focus on your school because that's what we're here for." Throughout my process, I was 5 years elementary education teacher at Country Meadows Elementary School, and holds near and dear. It is a Title I school, and those kids need us. I taught 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, English as a second language. I then taught myself out of a job because my class was no longer big enough. They passed the Azella 90%, so I went to Marshall Ranch. And I met a ton of great people. One of a friend I hold dear to my heart, Jan Ogino, who now sits on the Arizona State Standards Committee, and I did the same thing there. 90% of my class, my children graduated or passed the Azella, and I moved on to Coyote Hills, where I met new friends and colleagues that are now instructional specialists with this district. So Peoria is not just a job, it's my life, it's my lifestyle. I am invested in this community. And I hope through this process you learn all these candidates and what their true interests are for being on the school board. Now I have a vision, and that vision is that we can continue to work together as a community, north and south, administrators, teachers, different precincts. And it takes a lot of work.
Thank you, Monica.
And I will continue to work.
Mr. Jonigan.
Thank you. My name is David Jonigan, and I am running to return to the Peoria Governing Board here in this wonderful district. My wife and I, we've been residents of Peoria for about 20 years, and we chose Peoria because of the school district back then. We both did not live in this area. I lived in the East Valley, and she lived in North Phoenix, and we looked around the entire metro city area where best to raise our family, and we chose Peoria. And we have 3 wonderful kids, one who has already graduated all the way through Paseo Verde, K through 8, Centennial High School, 2 degrees at ASU, and is working on becoming an ATF agent currently in that process. We have our middle child is currently a sophomore at Centennial High School, and they're playing football right now. I keep getting updates on the score, so they're winning. And then I've got my youngest child is in Paseo Verde as 5th grader. So by day, I'm in the financial industry. I currently am a bank manager for Chase, and I've spent 15 years in that industry. I've managed budgets in excess of $1.2 billion under my direct responsibility. So I understand how intricate and how detailed you have to be when you're dealing with that much money. That's about 6 times, in case you were wondering, it's about 6 times the size of the Peoria budget. Overall, again, since 2001 in the financial industry, and I just love everything about what I do for a day job, and love carrying that over into the board that I'm on. Tonight, I look forward to sharing with everyone why I want to return to the school board, and hopefully why I'm the best choice for your vote tonight. And I appreciate your consideration, and we'll have some fun tonight.
Thank you. Dr. McConnell?
Yes, well, first of all, I want to thank the Peoria United Parent Council and Mr. Sandoval, who's vice president for this organization, for your invitation. And just as a short introduction, I am a workforce manager at Banner Health, the corporate office over in Mesa. And we manage a great deal of the different organizations within Banner and their client services and their ability to provide good and timely service to patients. Now, that's my full-time and my paying job. My loved job, the one that I get to do for pleasure, is I teach ethics and philosophy and Christian worldview at Grand Canyon University. I've been there since 2001. In fact, I have a couple of my students here from Grand Canyon, and I'm very happy that they're here to watch this process that we're going through. So I'm very proud of my time there as an educator in the university setting. What I really hope to do is, because, as a parent, we spent, my wife and I, all of our time chasing our kids from different sports. All 3 of my children went to Sundance Elementary, and then all 3 have graduated with both academic and athletic scholarships from Centennial. 2 of them went on to pursue athletic and academic education. My daughter is going to be a teacher at some point along the way after she gets married. No, she's got to graduate, then she gets married, and then she becomes a teacher. And my son is pursuing his MBA. But the main thing is, I'm a parent, and I'm a taxpayer. And so, I think at some point along the way, we have to have some semblance of time of parent, taxpayer, and educator on this board.
Thank you, Dr. McConnell. Mr. Sandoval.
Thank you. Parents, teachers, staff, it's certainly a pleasure, and definitely I'm grateful for you taking the time to want to learn more about each and every one of us. It's an important election, and it's one that certainly impacts many verticals as it relates to our city, from an economic development standpoint, crime rates, et cetera. So my name is David Sandoval. I'm a 20-year resident of the city of Peoria. The district has been educating my family since the early 1930s. My mom's, original Pueblo home is still up and thriving off of Madison and 85th Avenue. My wife and I are proud parents of 2 children who have benefited from the, certainly the tradition of excellence that the city of Peoria, the Peoria Unified School District upholds Our son is currently a junior at Sunrise Mountain. I think for myself, as it takes, as a business owner, as a member of the Peoria Chamber of Commerce, I'm going to add a different lens to the board, one that is a little forward-thinking, and certainly one that definitely focuses on, making sure that we adapt, as a district, integration of technology, into the teaching process, and making sure that our teachers have an opportunity to truly be educated and learn how to use that technology in the classroom, and ultimately making sure that our students, our youth, are prepared for the 21st century workforce, which has become even more demanding than it was 10 years ago. As the chairman of the Board of Trustees for Maryvale Hospital, and as Mr. McConnell stated, the vice president for the Peoria United Parent Council, I certainly have a firsthand understanding of the shift of the face of our students within Peoria Unified. A clear understanding of the importance of living a healthy and active lifestyle, and how that benefits and certainly ensures the success for our students throughout the cradle to career continuum.
Thank you, Mr. Sandoval. All right. Okay, so let's ask some questions. We'll start with Mr. Karen on the end there. What do you see are some of the challenges, or at least one challenge, facing the district, and how would you address it or them? Mr.
One
Karen.
of the challenges, I'm sorry, what was it?
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. One of the challenges that faces the Peoria Unified School District is going to be financial issues, and we are going to have more than just short-term fixes at this time. Bonds and overrides are short-term fixes that will cost money over a long period of time. We have to look for long-term fixes for the future, because if this, for instance, is a bond, it's a 20-year bond, our kindergartners are still going to be paying for this bond as they become adults, young adults. And we're going to have to sit down. We're going to have to talk with the state legislature. That is where we're going to get the problem solved. And I have been able to network with people, and that is what I plan on doing, is building bridges and allowing us to open up this network with the state legislature, sitting down, having educational committees that are going to look at Article 15 and find a way to lock up funds so that we can get it directly into the classroom. Because at the end of the day, the youth are the ones that are suffering from this financial bigotry, I guess, for lack of better terms. Another issue that is facing the Peoria Unified School District is retention and recruiting of high-quality teachers. We are going to have incentives for teachers to want to stay. And I plan on making this district the best possible district that I can in order to attract good quality teachers to want to come here, as well as parents. Instead of sending their kids to charter schools, I want it to be attractive enough where they want to come and be a part of the Peoria Unified School District.
Thank you, Mr. Karen. Ms. Cejas Martinez, same question.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm glad to hear that all of you guys agree teachers is a concern and that you hold them near and dear to your heart. Teacher retention is a problem here in our state, and we continue as a board to blame funding. Yes, that is a big concern, but we need to focus on what we can control today. Yesterday on the news, over 500 teachers left the state. In Peoria School District last year, they had to hire over 300 teachers. I had a meeting with Dr. Stifler. He said anywhere between $40,000 to $50,000 to train a new hire. You times that by 300, you're talking $12 million. The past 4 years, we've had double-digit turnover rates. That's a lot of money. So if you want to talk about financial responsibility, let's talk about keeping our teachers here so that we don't have to keep paying for them and training them over and over year after year. Another important piece is financial issues. Yes, you talk about incentives for teachers, but that costs money. So what does the board have to control? Policy. Passing policies on the day after the school goes out does not work. Let's have some committees that make sense and have a broad representation of our district. And we can then talk about keeping teachers to stay in our district who want to come back. Thank you.
Mr. Donegan?
When I look at Peoria Unified School District, I see two main challenges that we're facing right now, the largest challenges. One is securing funding right now for the growth that we're experiencing, as well as the maintenance of the buildings that we currently have. What I find interesting, 6 years ago, the state reduced and eliminated funding to school districts so that they could maintain their buildings. Where do we get these funds? We have to go out to the community to grab those and maintain our buildings. So I agree, we need to change that long-term, but right now, getting the secured financing we have today, and the bond is the way to do that, that's a huge step we have to take care of right now. We don't want to see what happened in Glendale to the south of us just a week or two ago, having to close schools because of safety issues. So we need to make sure this bond passes now so that we can avoid those issues and make sure our kids are in safe environments. Couldn't agree more. Teachers, that's where the magic happens in the classroom. They are actually the biggest asset we have here. And we do have an attract and retention challenge ahead of us. I agree, it is a statewide problem. We need to do things differently going forward in Peoria to make sure that we maximize the issues we have. We haven't experienced it as bad as the rest of the state, but we do have a challenge. When we set a priority as a board, saying that teachers are our number one priority, we need to make sure policies and all the available resources we have go towards taking care of them, whether that's extra resources in the room, in their classroom, whether that's additional pay, however possible we can. When we do those things, we'll reduce the turnover, because that's never a healthy thing. We get the stability in the district, and we will grow and be positioned for great excellence in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Donegan. Dr. McConnell?
Well, first of all, I'm trying to lobby to get my daughter to come back to Arizona and be a teacher here. She's in Nebraska, she's a junior, and at this juncture, she's telling me, I'm not coming back to Arizona to teach. Your schools are not good there. And I'm sitting here trying to get on the school board. If I can do nothing but get my daughter to come back and live here, hey, elect me, please. But, I do listen to the marketplace. And when I see this big, giant school down here called traditional, it tells me something that parents are looking for in an education. And let's be clear, we're spending more money on education for this district, but we have fewer students. And where are they going? They're going to charter schools. Now, we can criticize all we want about what charter schools represent and how they attract parents, but if we're not listening to what those parents are telling us, then we're missing a great deal of information about what parents are thinking about public schools. And I think we need to hear what they're saying. Now, one last thing. It's about the bond, but truthfully, it's about taxes in any way. I'm a taxpayer. I have spent all of my time in this district as a parent and a taxpayer. And so at some point along the way, we've got to stop kicking the can down the road. I can look to Washington, give you 20 trillion reasons and a continuing resolution why it is that taxes really matter to the people in this district. And believe me, when they see us continuing to come asking for bonds and asking for budget overrides and never constraining our own budget the way we live by it in our own homes, it's a huge message. And let me tell you, they're voting. They're taking their children down the street.
Thank you, Dr. McConnell. Mr. Sandoval?
Thank you. So, for me, as I take a look at the district, we've been very fortunate, to have high metrics, positive metrics as it relates to grad rates, dropout rates. So for me, when we are at the top, it becomes easy to become complacent. When you take a look at the Mr. Collins's book, Good to Great, the enemy of great is good. So we're okay with that. But from my standpoint, we need to always think about what may be coming around the corner. And I think we're doing that, as we, look at the bond and what that bond is set out to do, meaning, add 2 more schools, a high school and an elementary school. I think what that does is that helps us mitigate classroom sizes, which is very important when you take a look at our knowledge today as it relates to barriers to learn, even from a cultural perspective. We need to give our teachers the opportunity to have a very intimate and more intimate relationships with their students. So, and give them the opportunity to look beyond what's right in front of them. An A student who's now a C student, maybe because the student's parents got divorced or there was a death in the family. So certainly understanding the social, emotional aspect of learning, in addition to, really creating environments that teachers are inspired to come to work every day. As a business owner, I fully respect and understand the impact that, understand the emotional currency. These are individuals, and there's no doubt that, when I was walking, collecting signatures, without question, the salaries we need to do more there, without, again, for sure. But it's the respect. Also, making sure they feel valued, meaning our teachers and staff, ensuring that they have environments where they can be innovative and certainly creative, and understand that their voice is important. And it's invaluable to our district and how we move forward.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Ceja Martinez, you touched on teachers and teacher retention, so let's go a little deeper there. What kind of specific things would you do to keep teachers and get teachers into the district?
Excellent question. Since I still have my license, I'm back at the district office for free, so there's one more. But on the serious note, we need to look at our policies. This year, I drove around before school started, and we have a contract date, and we have 5 days that our district has turned on the AC, and our teachers are coming to work for free. They work tireless hours. Now, I did bring that up to Dr. Stifler about asking to extend the time frame to open up and there be on the contract days. However, he did mention it costs a lot of money. He would rather put that in the pockets of the teachers. So we will have that discussion, and we will bring our teacher unions to the board in a committee so they can decide what they're willing to give up in regards to opportunity costs. In the finance world, and that's currently where I'm at, we ask each other, in your home, you say sacrifice. What are we going to give up today so we can have tomorrow? Dr. Stifler said sacred cow. In the finance world, we say opportunity costs. And we need to ask our teachers seriously, what are you willing to give up so that you can have something in the long run? And I believe that if you put them all together, they will come to an agreement what works best for today so we can continue to work for tomorrow.
Thank you. Mr. Jonigan?
There's a couple things that we have started doing and things that we need to continue doing to get and retain the best teachers possible for Peoria. First, it is starting the conversation earlier in the process. This last year, we had a late conversation where the contracts were not in dispute, still right before they were being issued. And so we have taken that and moved the conversation up early in the year. We need to make sure those conversations are inclusive of all the stakeholders. They're proportionate to the stakeholders that we have. And we need to make sure that we're listening to them and applying that into any decisions we make. It's really, teachers are looking for a couple things. They're looking for more money, of course, but they're also looking for respect. And if we need to demonstrate that, and how we do that is showing them that we care enough to give them the resources they need, like SchoolNet and things like that we are applying and rolling out to them so that they can do their jobs quicker, easier, not spending their extracurricular time just, planning studies and things of that nature. So if we can give them more resources, give them the respect that they need, and then look at every avenue possible to drive cost savings towards their salaries, that will go a long way in helping solve that problem. But again, it won't be resolved until we go to the state level and change the way Arizona funds their school districts, that's a bigger problem. But what we can control is what I just said, so thank you.
Thank you. Dr. McCall?
You know, I was looking at the Arizona state budget, and of course, we pass a lot of blame up to our state legislatures because we want to say they're cutting our budget, they're cutting our budget. Let's be clear, they're balancing the state budget. And whether they balance the state budget or not, if they raise those taxes, we're still going to pay them, whether we pay them in bonds or whether we pay them in taxes. So at some point along the way, we still have to exercise some fiscal restraint in the way we spend money. But let me just say this. If we're going to, and we can't do this with bonds, and I don't think we need to do it with budget overrides, but somewhere along the ways, we need to find more money for our teachers and for their salaries, and we need to find it in our budget. Now, I think we need also to make some allowance for keeping our experienced teachers. Let me tell you, my daughter, both of my kids, my younger kids, had a teacher, Mr. Woods. We loved Mr. Woods. He was, and I went on field trips with them to the zoo and to Pioneer Village and all those places. And let me tell you, this is a great teacher. Now, when our teachers are retiring at 50, let me tell you, if I can retire at 50, well, I'm 56, I'd be retired. Would I do that? Well, you know, in the real world, most of us have to keep working. But on top of that, we lose a wealth of experience in these people. Now, I'm not saying that, gosh, you know, we shouldn't allow them to retire early, but let me just say, we lose their experience when that happens. Now, one last thing, I think students do matter. And students need teachers that are teaching for the love of teaching and not just for the paycheck, but they teach because it's a passion. And those are the people we need to attract and keep as teachers in Peoria.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sandoval.
Thank you. So at the end of the day, you know, and I think we would all agree, I want to ensure that our most valuable assets, our youth, are given the best opportunity to be successful, you know, throughout the cradle to career continuum, regardless of what zip code they live in. And what that means is certainly an unwavering commitment to how we appropriate our dollars back into the classroom, how we appropriate our resources back into the classroom. I talked earlier about emotional currency. You know, our teachers, they want to be certainly challenged, but also grow as professionals. So from a professional development standpoint, ensuring that we bring in quality professional development is critical to growing, you know, our teachers and staff. For instance, today and tomorrow, we're doing just that as a company. We have our associates, you know, on a 2-day retreat up in the East Valley from a, you know, mentoring standpoint, team building, but we brought in professionals to certainly educate them on, you know, working together, you know, and focus more on them, the personal aspect, giving them the skills to be successful in the seats that they sit in. No different in this environment. You know, we need to make sure that our teachers feel valued again, and certainly we give them every opportunity to grow as individuals.
Thank you, sir. We've talked a little bit about the bond so far. It's a little over $140 million going to a high school and an elementary school and a number of other things. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, sir. Go right ahead.
Yep. Okay, so we're still on retaining high-quality teachers, right?
Correct.
Okay, all right. So teachers are public servants, okay? Being a public servant, people know that you are not here for the money. You are here for the purpose. You are part of something bigger than yourself. You are committed to making the future better, safer, higher quality of living for everybody. And I like what pretty much everybody down the line has stated. Teachers want respect, and they want to be valued. And it's funny because I was reading something on Harvard Business just the other day, and they were saying why people leave their jobs. People don't leave their jobs because they don't like the work. They leave their jobs because of the boss, whoever their boss is. And I feel like the administration might have lost touch with what their purpose is with the teachers. And that's why I made note that I want to try and be a liaison for teachers, to bridge that gap, talk to administration, and bring up these issues that come up in the classroom that teachers have concerns about. And then as far as retaining these teachers, they have good ideas, okay? They're in the classroom for a reason. They're good, they're qualified. And I think if these teachers were to get into higher positions, administrative positions, they would be able to come up with very good, innovative, and effective ideas because they've been in the classroom. They have the experience.
Thank you, sir. Really sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah, so the bond is a big subject this year, obviously. But what if it doesn't pass? What if it doesn't pass? So we'll start with Mr. Jonigan, please.
It has to. Seriously, if it doesn't pass, it's going to be a real difficult time for Peoria. Like I said, we have buildings that are in desperate need of maintenance. They have fire safety needs. And the challenge here is when you go in and you touch a part of a project to build, so let's just say bathrooms, for example. We have 20, 30-year-old bathrooms in some of these places, our schools, so we need to update them. But when we touch the bathroom, we have to bring everything up to current code. So it's not just fixing a sink here. We have to look at the entire system, the plumbing that goes in and so forth. So it really gets very complicated. We have to look as a board, if it doesn't pass, where do we have to make cuts? And unfortunately, those are going to be the tough discussions that we'll have to have. We have a set number of dollars to spend, and if it's not going to go towards getting extra dollars in to pay for the maintenance, we're going to have to look at different areas to get those monies. So, we could look at a variety of different areas. I don't want to scare anybody by throwing some suggestions out, but we can look at assistant principals in every school. Do we need one at every school? Could we partner them up, team them up? Different areas like that we can specifically look at and not impact the children and their learning and their education. So things of that nature.
Thank you. Dr. McConnell?
My wife recently lost her job, and I'll tell you, if you think the unemployment rate is low, be unemployed for a while and find out how hard it is to find employment. And so what that meant is, we had to get rid of our cable TV. I mean, we survived. And let me tell you, it's not such a bad thing. We cut our budget. We had to say no to some things that we had been taking for granted as normal facts of our lives. Now, if you have children and you don't learn how to say no to your children, the one thing you're going to find out is they're going to keep saying, give me more, give me more, give me more. And that has been the record of this district recently. It's the first question I asked Dr. Stifler is, if you have to cut your budget, where are you going to cut it? And his response is, I'm going to raise the classroom size for teachers. There was not ever once the mention that I might have to cut money from this thing or that. Let me tell you, if you're unemployed as an individual, you know how to cut your budget. Normal people and business owners, you have to abide by a budget. So when did we stop doing that in our school districts? When did we stop doing it in Washington? It's been 6 years since we've passed a budget. What's wrong here? We haven't learned how to say no. Now, two things. I like emotional currency. I do think our poor students deserve more of our attention. And I will tell you that without public service as your motive, you're not even going to be able to pay a teacher enough to do the hard work that's teaching. So I'm in agreement, with some of the words that are being said here. But the one we might have to say is no. No, from a parent, is often a sign of love. And it's a sign of responsibility from a public service.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sandoval.
Thank you. So I would agree, it has to pass without question. However, back to the question. So, as you know, this bond is designated, to, increase the number of schools that we have, which is very important, and we talked about that earlier. There's no doubt, we need to make sure that we're always looking, for what may be coming around the corner, what is coming around the corner, which is the growth of our city and our student population. So it's one of the things that concerns me if it doesn't pass. All too often, we make our decisions based on instances that take place that are very adverse or fatalities. For me, it's about safety as well. This bond is going to certainly uplift some of the schools that need it. One of the things that we don't want to happen is what just happened recently in Glendale, where there were a couple of schools that were actually shut down, displaced many students, and are, thankful to some of the partner districts. They were able to, continue educating those kids. But imagine taking a student out of that environment that they're comfortable with, and what an impact that makes on their ability to learn and be successful in school. I can't imagine, the impact that makes. So, if it doesn't pass, it would be, like, David said, there would be a lot of tough decisions that the board would have to make. And again, it just, from a standpoint of, how we repurpose monies, I know that's not easy, when you're talking about the public sector. But it's critical that this bond absolutely, gets a yes vote.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Karen?
Before I say no to the bond, safety and security is essential. It is a critical component to making sure we have environments that students, teachers, and staff can thrive in to effectively learn in the classroom, no doubt. First, it was an override. This was 8 months ago, something like that. Now it's a bond. When is enough enough? I mean, to me, it seems like the board votes yes to all these overrides and bonds to spend taxpayer money, like they think that we don't need it in our pockets. I would rather you save that money and use it in a more effective manner with your kids. Save up, go on a vacation, teach them, and let them develop morals and ethics just on vacation. Go to Disneyland. If you can't afford it, go fishing. Do something with that money. Now, this bond is to help assist build a new high school because they say that there is all this growth. Data has shown that has been provided from the Peoria Unified School District that it is in a downward trend, okay? Now, up north, up at Liberty High School, yes, there might be growth, okay? There is an upward trend in growth as far as Liberty High School goes. Geographically, if you place students that would be going to Liberty and you put them into Sunrise Mountain, which is 1.5 miles down the road, that deficit goes away. This high school is unneeded at this time. Now, the closer we get to Lake Pleasant, the city of Peoria has annexed all the way out there, it's going to need another high school. But at this point in time, we do not need it as far as students and attendance at our schools.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Ceja Martinez?
Thank you. You guys brought up all valid points, and I definitely believe we need to support this bond. I have lived in that classroom for over 10 years, and I know exactly what our teachers are going through, and it all boils down to safety. First, it is not acceptable for a teacher to have to buy a vacuum to vacuum her classroom. There are rodent issues in some of our schools that could potentially get into our children's food, and if we're going to discuss safety and you're okay with not paying $5 for a Starbucks at the cost of passing a bond, I'm going to take passing the bond on my child's safety first. The second thing you talked about, enrollment. Well, if you were all at the last board meeting, Dr. Stifler reported there were plus 200 students enrolled in our school district. So they are choosing Peoria School District. And if we want to talk about choice, our state has promoted pro-choice for schools. Then we are the choice of this district, and we need to continue to support the students that come to this district. And last and most important too, we talk about taxpayer dollars. 2014, I bought a house on 73rd and Sweetwater. In 2 years, my house appreciated 26%. I think we can afford a bond. Thank you.
Okay, you guys have talked a lot about safety, so let's go in that direction. What are something you would do to secure or, ensure safety more in the district? Dr. McConnell, yeah.
Well, for one thing, we have a zero tolerance on drugs and drug use in this district. I know that it's accepted that we don't accept drug use. I'm hearing that Prop 205 is going to give us money. So we're going to take money from the sale of marijuana and put it in our budgets. And let me go on to say that if we turn around and look at what's happening with illegal drug use of students in Colorado, you'll see that it's gone up, up, up. But let's take the money, right? Let's do that. And so if we don't, first of all, start discouraging, and let me just tell you this, it's not just illegal drugs. Illegal drugs also include anabolic steroids by athletes. It includes, smoking dope, and it's called dope for a reason. It doesn't make you smarter. It doesn't make you more productive. And so, we apparently, my children come home. I said, I heard that you have people smoking marijuana in the bathroom. Well, yeah, Dad. I mean, it's like, really? You accept that? So at some point along the way, we've got to stop this. And it starts, let's just start with people participating in extracurricular activities. If they smoke marijuana, they're off. They're off the team. We don't tolerate it, not one time, not two times, not three times. And I know for a fact that it's being tolerated if the athlete is a star athlete. So if we want safety, let's at least start with honoring the laws that we have on the books in our schoolrooms.
Thank you. Mr. Sandoval?
Thank you. Direct response, pass the bond. So we can continue to uplift the schools that need it, ensure that they're secure structurally, so we don't have a situation that we currently have in Glendale. It's other ways that we can, take a look at, safety measures across the district. I think it's certainly, again, bypassing the bond, it does help mitigate those classroom sizes. And I think having too many students being managed by one individual, that, it is a safety issue, it's at certain grade levels. Their ability to really manage the student well, managing the teaching process, it's not an easy one. It becomes unmanageable when the classroom sizes are extreme. So, final word, absolutely. It's, what we talked about, there's not a need today for these schools. It's a 3-year build time, for some of these schools. And at that point, at the rate our population is growing, it's, we're thinking forward. Thank you.
Mr. Karen?
As I stated earlier, it is very important to have safety and security measures set into place for students to be able to thrive in a good learning environment. Being a part of 2 unions, AZ Cops, and the largest police union in the United States, Fraternal Order of Police, I would plan to build the relationship that we already have with the Peoria Police Department and the Glendale Police Department, who supply us with school resource officers. Their jobs are very challenging, especially in this day and age right now. We need to make sure that officers are equipped with what I call therapeutic intervention. This is basically where police officers that are in our schools would work with the district and being able to identify kids that are on the way to delinquent behavior. Working for the Arizona Department of Juvenile Corrections, I have seen youth come from the Peoria Unified School District and end up going to prison for years for felony offenses that they've committed. It starts with a proactive approach. After they have done it, it is too late. They have already gone down that path. So we need to have people that are willing to work and be proactive with intervening early. Teachers can do this as well. Kids need to respect you and they need to trust you in order to talk to you. And I think if we have police officers being more proactive, we will be able to eliminate and prevent juvenile delinquency in our schools. And then as far as Prop 205, clearly, since I work on a substance abuse unit, I've seen what it does to the mind. It dissolves your ability to have critical thinking skills, make quality decisions, and it is a gateway drug. It really is. I feel like I'm about to eat this thing every time I'm talking. I'm like hitting it with my lips. But yes, it does dissolve the mind and the ability to learn. So.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Ceja Martinez?
And thank you. I couldn't agree with you more, Dr. McConnell and Mr. Karen. We need to say no to Prop 205. It is a substance that our children do have access to. In 2013, our school district removed behavior specialists from our district to help support our students, and we talk about being proactive and giving the teacher a tool. A behavior specialist was a tool to help encourage and bridge that gap, to be prepared, and it all goes down to safety. So I definitely agree with you, gentlemen. Going forward with safety measures, we have to look at our schools equitably across the district. Some schools up north and the schools down south need to make sure they have the same safety measures, whether it be a fire watch or a security guard or a police officer roaming the campuses. It is important that we pass this bond so we can continue to secure our students so they feel comfortable learning.
Thank you. Mr. Jonigan?
When I look at safety for our school district, I look at it as a short-term needs and long-term needs. In short-term, right now, we do have many, many schools in dire need of critical upgrades. And that's where, to Monica and Mr. Sandoval's point, pass the bond. It provides us the necessary funds to do those things, to get the safety builds and so forth in place. Please keep in mind, when we talk about the bond, I just want to divert for half a second here. We have a $2 rate right now that we are paying as taxpayers of Peoria to service the existing bonds we have. With the passage of the new bond, we are not increasing that tax rate. This will not cost you more money. It is simply prolonging the fund source so that we can do the necessary things to our buildings to keep them in place. So that's hugely important to understand. Second, SROs absolutely are very valuable and needed on all our campuses. We have them at our high schools. We have a great relationship with the two Peoria police departments, Glendale and Peoria. And due to that relationship, we have those SROs on campus. Additionally, for safety, like I said before, it's all about making sure that we take care of the infrastructure we have. If one child is ever harmed because we didn't spend money on getting a bond put in place and they trip and they fall, they break their arm, something falls from the ceiling and gets them, or whatever it may be, I mean, how can we all look at ourselves in the mirror and think that we've done the right thing? This is just a no-brainer to me. So with that, pass the bond, pass the bond, pass the bond, and we'll take care of all the necessary safety needs that we have right now.
Thank you. Mr. Sandoval, start with you on this one. One sec, let me see.
Ooh, you get a special question.
Yeah. No, you all have to
Make it an
answer.
easy one.
Right. What's at least one way to, we've talked a little bit about this, so if you're going to bring something up that you've already brought up, try to be a little more specific. Fiscal responsibility, what is one way that we can do that? We've already, sorry, go ahead.
So for me, it's all that I do from a business standpoint, and I would bring that to the board as well, is is take a very informed approach to any decision that I make, ensuring that those decisions impact all stakeholders, take a global approach across the district. So being fiscally responsible is certainly making sure that we are appropriating our dollars in a way that makes the most impact. Look, our teachers they inspire, they provide hope, for those students who are our future leaders, who will soon be making decisions on changing the city's infrastructure. We've already talked about, a thriving school system equals a thriving community. Lowers our crime rates, increases our economic development. Fiscal responsibility to me, and in a way that we can, certainly address that, and it all comes down to the youth. We need to make sure that as we make decisions on behalf of the district, that the youth, our teachers and staff, are always top of mind.
Thank you. Mr. Karen?
So obviously, the youth in our district should be our #1 priority, followed closely right by the teachers. Those go hand in hand. One makes the other. And just like Dr. McConnell stated, we need to have the ability to say no, is to stop spending money that we do not have. We have a pot of money that we need to work with. And I have talked to state legislatures, and they say that all the school boards do is bicker back and forth and attack them. I am going to try and work with them. We are going to sit down. We are going to have good proactive talks on how we can change the financial future for the Peoria Unified School District. That is the only way we're going to get it done, is if we work with the state legislature. As I said before, we do need to make sure teachers have the resources that they need in the classroom for the kids. That's all I got.
Thank you. Ms. Ceja Martinez?
And thank you. So going forward with fiscal responsibility, it is a big job for our school board, and what I have control over is doing my homework. I have not missed a school board meeting yet in 2016, and I've been attending them since 2013, and every time fiscal conversations come up, and Mr. Hicks, an awesome CFO, presents information, we have 1 or 2 conversations from our board members. So it is important that our school board members understand what really fiscal responsibility means, and line item by line item. So when you're talking about rates and the status quo bond stays at 2%, you're just replacing the debt, you truly can provide conversation at the board meeting. You talk about resources. Let's talk about teachers and ask them what resources. If we want to talk about SchoolNet, Prop 123 was just passed, and if you would have went to the teachers, they would have chosen salary over resources. We need to ask our teachers how to incorporate that money in the classroom. Thank you.
Mr. Sandoval? I'm sorry, Mr. John again, I apologize.
Thought maybe you didn't like my answer.
I'm going to make all of you hate me by the end of the night, don't worry. Go ahead, sir.
Was that part of my 2 minutes? I'm just.
Yeah, no, we won't
All
count
right.
you.
As a member of the school board, it's our responsibility to ensure that we're spending every precious dollar in the best possible way. I think we can all agree on that. Some of the conversations I've championed have, they've asked the difficult questions. They've gotten us into a point where we are looking at every possible avenue that we have to cut here, save here, so that we can spend the necessary dollars in the right places. Just as a point of fact, 90% of our budget is salary. So when we're talking about all this extra money we can reallocate and so forth, you're really talking about teacher salary. That's 90% of our budget. So just keep that in mind. Again, setting priorities where we know the needs are, and with my experience, and the conversation we've started, we have a strong handle on those and where we need to be focused. I will say this about saying no. As a fiscally responsible individual and having the background that I do, being fiscally conservative is more than just saying no. It's about saying yes to the right things. And if we do that in an educated, informed way, we will make the right decisions and we will not have to impact salaries, which makes up 90% of the budget, and we will get things accomplished. So,
Thank you, sir. Dr. McConnell?
You can say yes to a whole bunch of right things. You can justify just about any level of spending. In fact, this school board has, I don't think, done much in the way of doing more than just rubber stamping every budget it's been given. Now, we can say that the bond doesn't cost a thing, but it does. It's going to cost kindergartners. Somebody's going to have to pay that bond. And you can say it's only a couple of dollars here, a couple of dollars there, but you look at the taxes we receive in fees on everything from our cell phones to our property taxes to our sales tax, which are going up too, apparently. So every time you turn around, you're receiving death by 1,000 cuts. And I'll tell you, I mean, I feel like, Mr. Karen and I are the two no's on here. Well, I'm amazed that the rest of these people are people from the financial industry. Do you counsel your financial people, your board members? Do you run your budget this way? Do you take loans that you're going to pass down to your children? I mean, for goodness sake, at some point we have to look at who's going to pay this back. And so population growth. We can plan on population growth. The reality is it hasn't been demonstrated in student growth in our district. In fact, that has gone down. So, at some point along the way, we really do have to make tough decisions. And tough decisions mean that at some point you have to be able to say, we can't have this thing or that thing anymore. Or maybe the people that want it can pay for it out of their own pocket.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sandoval?
I realize I already responded to this question, but I think for me, you did kind of give me that window. For me, it's one of the things from a business standpoint, that we focus on is, we either invest now or we pay later. And trust me, if we pay later, the expense is going to be even greater across many aspects.
Sorry, I lost my space here. Switching over to charter schools have come up earlier in the night. And so, since 1994, since legislators created a law to allow for charter schools, now there's more than 550 charter schools in the state serving more than 170,000 students. And so I'm kind of curious to get your guys' thoughts on where you stand on charter schools. Mr. Guerin?
As far as charter schools go, this is America. Parents should have the choice to send their kids where they please, as long as they're held to a particular standard. And I know that Legacy was just opened. And, I sat down and talked with Dr. Stifler about this, and he seems to think that it is contributing to the lower test scores of the Peoria Unified School District. And as I stated previously for the teachers, they are public servants. They know what their job is, and they are very good at it. And they will teach the kids to the best of their abilities. And I do not see that it is affecting the Peoria's test scores like Dr. Stifler might be implying. But as far as charter schools, I think parents should be able to choose where they take their kids. They are your kids.
Thank you. Ms. Ceja Martinez.
Thank you. Before I jump onto the charter school question, I wanted to readdress Dr. McConnell. You talked about investing and long-term investing. I met with the CFO, San Francisco CFO, and he stated invest in human capital. Well, that's our children. In a recent study in Penn State, they stated that every dollar you put in a child, a preschool to third grade, has a return of $7. So if we're going to talk about investing, let's talk long-term. When addressing charter schools, people choose Peoria. And the reason why I know that is because they recruit our teachers to train their professional development. So we are going to say, yes, go America, pro-choice, but if you're going to say pro-choice, let's fund them equally. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jonigan?
I'm not afraid of charter schools. They pop up all over the place, and I think there's some interesting things we need to keep in mind. We keep referring to the traditional school that just opened up down the street here. It opened up within 2 miles of 10 publicly funded elementary schools. So it's not necessarily needed, and they're not getting the kids from Peoria because, as we said earlier, and I think it was Monica who said it, we grew by 200 students this year. So with that competition, we're still growing. So why are we growing? It's because of the programs, the robust programs that we have that they can't offer. We have programs like the MET, and that stands for the Medical, Engineering, and Technical Program. It's over at Peoria High School. If you don't know anything about it, please look it up. It's an amazing, amazing program. It offers our kids, from doctors, from engineers, coming on campus and teaching them real-time, real applicable learnings. So when they go to college, whatever their next step is, they are more prepared for that than they would normally be in traditional schools or charters. We've got programs like PSBN, Peoria Schools Broadcasting Network. It is one of the major reasons why Huntington University chose to relocate to Peoria, because of how amazing the kids are when they come out of that program. They're going as freshmen into college, and they're mentoring juniors and sophomores as freshmen because their knowledge is so high right now coming out of the Peoria School District. I couldn't be more proud of what we do and how we do it, and our robust programs will never be challenged by any charters. And I think you also said this as well, we are the district of choice, and our parents and our families are choosing Peoria.
Thank you. Dr. McConnell?
We chose Peoria. All 3 of my kids graduated, and we're happy with what our kids got out of Peoria School District. I will tell you, they got good educations, and we're getting a return on that investment because they're getting paychecks now. And let me tell you, as a parent, that's a wonderful thing. So, but you know, we chose it because it has low crime. We chose it because it has high test scores, and we chose it before there were charter schools. And so we're happy with what we got here. Now, by the same token, the charter schools are full. Parents are packing in there. And I've taken the time to go and ask some of these parents and some of the people that are administrators in those schools why they go there. Maybe that's something we need to inquire about, because they're leaving public schools for a reason. Now, the marketplace is the best determiner of truth in the real world. And when people take their children out of a free public school and put them in a free charter school by choice, they're making a decision based on value, real or perceived. I don't think it makes a difference. Okay, so at some point along the way, we need to look at what it is that they're doing, not consider them a threat. You know, if anything, I think we can compete with them. I believe we're as good. We're probably a lot better. But we have a perception problem. What is that perception problem that keeps us from losing our best and our brightest students to these charter schools?
Thank you. Mr. Sandoval?
So I believe certainly there's a place for charter schools. But when you take a look at the promise of public education that the PUSD upholds, it's in our mantra. You know, it's every student, every day. Our door is open, regardless, again, of your socioeconomic status, your culture, your background, et cetera. That's a differentiating key component for me, you know, charter schools versus, you know, PUSD. We're equipped to certainly challenge those students that are excelling and uplifting those students that are in our most vulnerable communities. Again, you know, The promise of public education is every student, every day, high caliber teaching, and vigorous curriculum.
Thank you. Ms. Ceja Martinez, you mentioned the AZ merit test. So what is your stance on that? And then maybe is there a better way to measure performance? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a great question. I think our state is a little confused as well. So we, to educate the community, we used to have the AIMS, which tested basic skills. We are evolving as a community, as a nation, and it's important that we test our students to look at their critical and analysis skills. It's important that we have a metric to measure our students, but it's important also not to over-test our students. I know that at one school I met with a teacher. I've been having one-on-one meetings, and they spent a whole month just testing, a whole month of school testing. That's a problem because that means that they're not educating and working on those critical analysis skills. When we discuss testing, we also need to address it to our curriculum and what are we really trying to obtain from the child, which is student growth. So if we have a correct measuring system, we should use it correctly and allow the teachers to choose not only just the state mandate, but the testing that goes on in the classroom and not every unit framework.
Thank you. Mr. Jonigan?
You know, I understand we need to measure because we have to find a number, a value, or something to say how much we've progressed. We do that with everything in life. But with our children, we do tend to do that a little too much, and we need to make a better balance with that. You know, I look back to how do kids learn? They don't all learn by reading a book. Some are very visual. Some are learn through arts and a variety of different ways. If we're going to be testing our children, we need to be aligning the measurement that we have to the way they're learning. And when we just have one measurement and variety of ways of teaching, it just doesn't seem to be fair to all kids. And when I'm on the board and when we have conversations, we talk about equity. We want to make sure that every kid, every child, every student is given the same opportunities, regardless of where the school is, in the south, the north, the central, whatever. We need all of our children to have the same opportunities. And when we provide them and match up their measurement against the way they learn best, we'll get the best results, and they'll be best prepared for the future, whether that's in college or in a career or in a technical field.
Thank you. Dr. McConnell?
One of the things I do in my work with Banner and my previous employers before this is measuring performance, measuring whether we're getting a return on investment. What I found is when there was money involved, we had people who would do just about anything to make their bonus. They would do it. I mean, they'd break the rules, they'd cheat a little on the metrics, you name it. But it's necessary to get some kind of standard evaluation, if for no other reason, so we can separate the really good teachers, the people that are working hard, from the teachers who are substandard. We find another way to do it. But there's another thing that's involved here too, which is, and I like your idea about emotional currency and this idea that every student matters. I think it's a good way of thinking about kids because they're not cookies from a cookie cutter. And so we need to be able to approach students from the way that they learn and for the things that they're gifted at and be able to have teachers that teach from that perspective. Now, we've got a new program, a new computer program that's coming along, and I know that, I forgot what it's called.
SchoolNet.
What's that?
SchoolNet.
SchoolNet, which is a cool thing. And I think Dr. Stifler said that it will not take the magic of the teacher out of the classroom. And I'm very happy to hear that because I've seen the gradual standardization of teaching and curriculum in the colleges over the last few years, particularly from the Department of Education coming down. And I will tell you that when we start making that stuff stiff and difficult on teachers, the first people that get hurt are the kids. But let me go and say one last thing about teaching to standardized testing like Ames. My kids would come home and say, we're having Ames test, and they would be stressed about it. And I would say, why are you stressed? This test doesn't evaluate you, it evaluates your teacher. So, teachers teaching to the test is a real problem if we're going to use standardized merit testing.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sandoval?
Thank you. So for me, I'm very data-driven. You know, and as long as, you know, these tests, and we are very thoughtful about how we leverage the data to enhance the student experience in our classrooms. That's important. However, that said, if we teach to a test versus teaching to the creativity and the passion of our youth, we are doing them a severe injustice, without question. We need to nurture that creativity, not undermine it. So for me, it's you know, again, it's data in, data out. If we are thoughtful about that data, you know, it's and utilize it in a way that you know, really drives their success, you know, throughout their educational career. But again, we must nurture that creativity, not undermine it.
Thank you. Mr. Karen?
As stated by, I believe it was Mr. Jonigan, about having a way to, that we do need a way to have a way to measure student progression, but at the same time, students need to have the same opportunities in order for them to perform. And then as far as being able to identify the quality teachers, I think would be another interesting point, because like we were stating before, retaining quality teachers, being able to identify these teachers that have done a good job in the classroom, teaching the kids these tested measures. And I took the Ames test, so I don't know exactly what is on the merit test. I have not researched that adequately. And then, like Ms. Martinez stated, over-testing. You know, how much are they educating in the classroom if they're testing for AZ merit all the time? But
Thank you. Okay, cool. A couple more questions. So if you watch the debates this week, you obviously know, pay attention to any presidential politics, you know we live in very partisan times. So I'm curious, school boards are supposed to be nonpartisan, but as a candidate, are any of you affiliated with a partisan group? Mr. Jonigan, start, please.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, I was just wondering if any of you were affiliated with any political group.
I mean, I'm a registered voter, and I belong to a political party, but, you know, this is, like you said, this is a bipartisan position, and education needs to remain bipartisan. And when we get politics involved, it is the worst thing. I'll tell you, being on the board, it's the best job ever. It is, and I can always say it's the best paying job. It is. Seeing the kids, it's fantastic.
So not associated with any political group, right?
No.
Can you ask that question?
Well, I can't. Well, the reason I ask is because this is supposed to be nonpartisan, and if you are affiliated with a partisan group.
If someone's on the board, he just said it's a nonpartisan position.
Right. It doesn't matter?
Can we switch places now?
Oh, it's not about voting for whoever you want. I mean, like being maybe funded by a group or anything like that. That's what I mean.
Let me just.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So let me.
Right.
Let me go
Sorry,
back to that question
I
here.
wasn't clear enough.
All right.
Are you have you been funded from any partisan group, politically partisan group?
I have not, and I can tell you that I was approached by a party, but to join that, I was asked to make sure I vote certain ways. And for me, my only decisions when I'm on the board, and hopefully when I get another 4 years here, all my decisions are based on what's best for the children, not what a political party wants and thinks that it's in the best interest of our community.
Dr. McConnell?
Let me just say, for the first time in my life, I have envy of people's signs. I like Mrs. Martinez's signs. They're beautiful. And so I would love to have the funding to do that, but my funding came out of my pocket. I had a friend at church offer me some money. I didn't take it. I'm a Republican. I'm not going to run from what party I am. I mean, I'm a conservative. I don't really know what Republican means these days. You know, I'm a confused Republican. I don't know about the rest of them out there, but I will tell you that I'm a conservative. I've got support from my church, purely in prayers, and everything else, every penny I've spent came out of my pocket. And it ain't very many pennies. I would love to have some of Monica's signs. Those are good.
I'll put one in your yard.
Yeah. Well done.
Mr. Sandoval?
The simple answer is no, I am not. So look, every day that I wake up, I know I'm waking up for something bigger than me and someone more important than me. And that is everyone in this room, the teachers, staff, our youth. That's what's most important. And that's why I'm running for the Peoria Unified Governing Board.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Karen?
Same thing as Mr. McConnell.
You want to sign too?
No, but actually, it's funny that you mentioned the sign, because when Miss Martinez walked in, I said, you want to know what's really cool is your crowd is all wearing your shirts. I thought that was really neat. I need to get some Vote Karen shirts. Hashtag Vote Karen, right? That's the trend. Same thing as Mr. McConnell, self-funded. It's been kicking my tail recently, but I've taken 3 oaths to protect and serve the people of the United States and my local communities, 2 with the United States military and 1 with my current job at Arizona Department of Corrections. I'm not in it for the money. You are in it because you want to be a part of something bigger than yourself. You want to leave a dent in this universe, especially right now in this day and age where we have some issues going on. And it's time that we have leaders step up that have integrity and are willing to speak their minds and get business done in a proactive way.
Thank you.
Well, if you go to Seja Martinez for PUSD, you can make a donation and get a sign. I am an independent. I have been blessed to go to all the precincts, Democrats and Republicans, and I love the process. They are very passionate people, just as passionate as I am about education, and I know we can find common ground. If you want to talk about finances, you can easily locate it on the maricopa.gov website. And my funding has been self-funded and a courtesy of my parents and my lovely supporters, which are friends and family. It is on there, and I invest for our youth, for our children, and I think it's a good investment in our public education system, so I wouldn't think twice about it.
Thank you. All right, a few more questions. We got a couple from the audience. This one is, would you support the reintroduction of sex education into elementary schools? Dr. McConnell.
No. I think that belongs with parents. Period.
Mr. Sandoval?
So, you know, the classroom and our teachers are certainly an extension, you know, and certainly become, you know, part of families. the reintroduction of, sex education, into the classroom. It's not a bad thing, so I would support it.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Mr. Karen?
I also agree with Mr. McConnell on this, is it does lie with the parents, that responsibility. But working where I work, seeing juveniles enter delinquency, I do feel like it is very important that they are educated, and probably before junior high. Right before junior high would be the best time for it, because that's whenever people start experimenting, is in junior high, drugs and whatever else it may be. So yes, the more education for them on that topic, I would support.
Thank you.
Have any of you gentlemen ever sat in one of those classes that they taught at the district or in fifth grade?
Yes, it was in the library at Apache Elementary. It was interesting.
Recently, right?
Yeah, I think that was in 2005. No, I don't know.
I
It was
believe-
probably close.
I was probably close to 2006 is when my first year of teaching, I sat in one of those classes and I was shocked. And I'm an adult, and I think that it is an important conversation to have at the home. We have a lot of nonprofit organizations and Title I schools that have services that can reach out to the communities that definitely need that and that can offer that service. But we need to teach our children how to analyze data, critical thinking skills, and that is definitely a conversation that needs to happen at home.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Jonigan?
Public education is about making sure we get our kids best prepared for career and whatever their future lies. And there's too many different beliefs and backgrounds to make a blanket statement if it's good for one or good for all, or if it's a percentage or not. And I do believe that it does need to be with the parents. It is our responsibility to make sure that our kids are raised in a certain way and how we believe. And for that, I would say it needs to stay at home with our parents and make sure that we have that responsibility and we take it seriously.
Thank you. A couple more questions. Philosophically, do you support the expansion of empowerment scholarship accounts to all students? Mr. Sandoval.
So the ESSAs, it certainly takes monies away from our systems, and and at any time that we can make sure that monies that are driven to public schools, that it is our responsibility that those stay certainly funded within our district.
Thank you. Mr. Karen?
I don't know enough on this topic at this time to give you a quality answer. If you would like, you can get on my Facebook page, send me an email or a PM, and I will research this farther. And we can go sit down at IHOP or something, have a cup of coffee, and I would be glad to discuss this topic with you in more detail, if you are here.
Thank you. Ms. Ceja Martinez?
Yeah, so I am familiar with the Empowerment Scholarship. My son is a special needs, he has an IEP, and they were geared to offer special needs students an opportunity to reach out to schools that can offer more. I still have my son in the Peoria School District because this is more. And at this time, the way it was structured, it is not equal for our students in our district, and I do not support the Empowerment Scholarship. I know my neighbor is the one who created it, and we have a difference of opinions, and if we continue to support efforts like that, it's going to continue to siphon dollars out of our district.
Thank you. Mr. Jonigan?
Well said. At the expense of just saying ditto, I do believe everything needs to be fair. I've talked about equity in the past tonight, and if it's not good for all, then I'm just not in favor of it. We need to make sure that we're taking care of our kids equally, giving them all the same opportunities and so forth. So,
Thank you.
I'm gonna follow a little bit with Mr. Karen in that I'm not fully up to speed on what the criteria are for qualifying for that. And so that concerns me. I'd like to know that if it's available on criteria that is fair and equitable across the board. So I have to, at this point, I'm going to have to plead ignorance about, the fullness of
Fair
that.
enough.
So
Me
think
too.
Saying I don't know, it takes some humility. So I
Absolutely.
don't know. Okay, so there.
Thank you, sir. Almost there. Thank you guys for coming tonight. We got 2 more questions. This one is, and this one's from the audience. How would you help promote STEM education? Mr. Karen.
How would I promote it?
Yes, or would you support it?
I do not know.
Unfamiliar,
I am unfamiliar with
Okay.
this topic as well.
as am I. So-
I'm going to tell you, this crowd is froggy. Y'all got some excellent questions coming from out there. Go ahead, Ms. Martinez, to you.
Well, my first AP class was in physics, Mr. Barners at Centennial High School. And if we're going to support STEM, let me educate you on what it stands for, and I'm going to read it so I don't mess it up. It is for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. You might hear STEAM as well with the arts. If we are truly going to support STEM, we need to have teachers that are certified physics teachers. And I would proud to say that an ambassador of PUS, teacher ambassador and a graduate of Peoria High School, Mr. Mike Vargas, is a big advocate for our physics teachers. In 2015, in the Phoenix area, only 168 teachers are physics, or in Arizona are physics teachers. If we are going to offer our students those types of classes and really support STEM, we need to find teachers who are certified in that area. So I do agree with supporting STEM, recruiting STEM teachers that are trained and certified.
Thank you. Mr. Jonigan?
We do and let me say this correctly, we do a good job with STEM, but we need to do a better job with that. And that does go to the education of our educators. We need to make sure that we are incentivizing them to be in these tough fields, making sure that we are taking the right approach and getting them the right knowledge so that they know how best to teach our kids in these tough curriculum fields. And I do agree with the STEAM. We got to get the arts in there. As I went through school, one of the best releases I had was being in choir and learning music. And, that's one form of the arts, and I think that just helps us maintain a better balance of learning, and I think it would help in all approaches. So yes, I would agree, we need to do a better job of STEM, but we do a good job now.
Thank you.
Our choir director at church heard me sing once, and he said, "That's not a joyful noise." And that was the end of that. So, but I'm a humanities teacher, and so, you would think somebody that teaches religion and philosophy and ethics that, I'd be a little weak on STEM, but honestly, at Grand Canyon University, one of your alma maters, they have a strong STEM program. And I think that's a perfect place for us to have a nice symbiotic relationship with one of the local universities where we can harvest young teachers right out of a program that's right here close. So I think science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
See, that's why I have a cheat sheet.
And I'll go ahead and I have to go ahead and tell you one more thing. I've been trying to convince at least one of my children to take up engineering and robotics, because I think that somewhere down the line, that's going to be a huge marketplace. I'd love to see that taught in the public schools.
Thank you. Mr. Sandoval?
So I would agree. I think STEM is actually very important. We talked about making sure our youth are prepared for the 21st century workforce. Earlier I spoke of ensuring that our teachers are empowered, knowledgeable, giving them quality professional development. That is the only way that we're going to ensure the success of our youth, making sure that their instruction is relevant. It's an important, certainly, subject to make sure that they're prepared. For me, It's also creating partnerships with organizations that can help enhance the student experience, enhance the classroom experience for our kids.
Thank you. Last question of the night. Ms. Ahara Martinez, what is one talent or skill that you can contribute to the governing board?
Well, it's not singing. My ability to work hard. I have a lot of talented people around me, and what has been embedded in me is hard work. Get out there, meet the people. The expectation is here for everybody. The expectation is here for me. So if I'm going to bring a talent, it is I will be the hardest working person you have ever seen on this board.
I think to be effective, you have to be good listeners. And the one thing I pride myself on currently is people who send me responses through email or call me. You need to listen to the voice of the people around you in your community to make sure that you're sanity checking yourself and make sure you're going the right direction. So great listening, not only to board members, but to the community, and not only to all different aspects who impact the school districts. You have to listen. You have to be open to ideas, be willing to debate them, not argue. And when you do that, you'll get the best decisions possible. So listening skills is mine, and I'm here to listen.
I like the sanity check thing. I think I'll go home and do that. You know, I work in the business world looking at reams and streams of data. And from that, I extrapolate directions, whether something's working, whether it's not working, you know, how our management philosophy is taking place. And so you would think that on one hand, being a data person, which is what I do at Banner, that there would be some nexus between that and ethics and philosophy. Now, the truth is, I see a perfect golden thread through that, because if you get marred down in the details, you're not going to see the big picture and the long picture. And I'm very good at seeing not just the details, but also seeing the meaning behind them. And I like to think also, and I like this idea of listening. I know as a parent what it's like to have a problem in my school district, and find out gradually that nobody's listening to that problem. That my door's open for that. My door's going to be open to parents and to teachers. And honestly, if I'm granted with the pleasure of being on this board, I hope to establish good relationships with people with whom I disagree. I think we can do that.
Thank you. Mr. Sandoval?
So, you know, for me, it's, again, taking a listening first approach, making sure that I am informed of every decision that I make, you know, and how that impacts all stakeholders within the district. You know, I will bring firsthand knowledge around creating an environment of trust and respect for our teachers and staff, you know, which will influence certainly diverse thought. I think it will influence retention of high caliber teachers, as well as attracting those individuals. So, you know, in our industry, you know, it's very fast paced, it's very innovative. So I will also bring a very forward thinking approach, always looking for what may be coming around the corner, and making sure that we're planned for whatever that is. As a parent, you know, I certainly have that knowledge of, you know, establishing a proactive and effective communication channel between the district and the parents. It's critical that the parents are well informed in a very timely fashion. So innovation, certainly listening first, and taking a global approach to impacting lasting change within the Peoria Unified School District.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Karen, we started and we'll end with you.
Alrighty. I am a member of the Arizona Army National Guard. I work at the Arizona Department of Juvenile Corrections, both of which their funds have been cut. We're about to have the smallest military we've ever had since before World War II. So with those two things in mind, I have very creative problem-solving skills because we do not have the resources we need out there to perform our jobs at the highest level. Do we make it work? Of course. On top of that, I'm a full-time student, so I have my plate very full, so I do not lack hard work. And I wouldn't be running for this position if I was not willing to put in the hard work that it is going to require to make changes, day and night work. And on top of creative problem solving, that takes to be a good listener. You have to be able to listen to other options, other opinions, and be able to work with them so you can come up with a solution to solve the problem in a proactive way rather than a reactive way. Due to the fact that this is a government entity, the government tends to be very reactive, and I'm here to try and change that. And just kind of be the face of the future with new, innovative, and effective ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. I think we all learned a lot. We will be well more informed to go to the polls in November. Thanks to the candidates for coming out. Thanks to the voters who will go vote. And everybody have a really great night. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.